The Big Bang is probably the most volatile and explosive thing to ever happen. This was until November of 2017 when there was a release of a tiny little game called Star Wars Battlefront 2. This was the game that broke the camel's back when it came to loot boxes and microtransactions in a AAA game. The game was seen as greedy and a game that was trying to grab money out of your wallet. Also, it didn't help that the next big content drop for this game was also partnered with one of the most controversial films ever released in the Star Wars franchise with Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi. This didn't help people want to be able to come back to this game, and this game was left for dead. Except the developers were not done yet. They redid the progression system in March, which led to you being able to earn what you wanted to earn instead of having a luck-based chance from a loot box. Then in E3 in 2018, they were able to announce 4 new heroes: Obi-Wan Kenobi, General Grievous, Count Dooku, and the Chosen One himself, Anakin Skywalker. DICE, the developers of this game, ran over and gave emergency CPR to this game, and it was necessary. The game had life brought back into it. Later that year in October, General Grievous would be brought to the game along with the planet of Geonosis. Then the following heroes were added along with a brand new game mode called Capital Supremacy. Battlefront 2 was back and was looking like an entirely new game. Reworks and game modes were added, and in April 2020, the Scarif update was added. This added the map of Scarif to the game, which is a planet from the movie Rogue One. Just like in Battlefront 1 from 2015, this would be the last big update drop. DICE announced to all gamers that this game had officially been canceled/died, and after that, Twitter heard millions of voices suddenly cry out in terror and were suddenly silenced. The game had made a complete 180, and now the game was complete. Now the game is complete, I think it'd be a good time to look back and see if this game is really good now that it is finished. I am T-Rex, and let's see if Battlefront 2 is a good game after all these years. Now let's first start off talking about the campaign. This is a story about Imperial Special Forces team after the explosion of the second Death Star as they try to figure out what to do now after this strong blow to the Empire. And to be completely honest, the story is kind of boring. I think what they decided to do with these storylines and where they want to take these characters is boring, and honestly is one of the most predictable storylines that I have ever played. Another problem is the characters. Characters are sometimes able to save a bad story, but the characters here are not that interesting either. I think that our protagonist is pretty stale, and that really she's not that interesting of a character. Now, Iden Versio is the main protagonist of the story, but there are 2 members of her team, Inferno Squad. One of them is named Hask, and he's pretty uninteresting. He's a pretty good doer. And the other one is named Del Miko, and he actually has an interesting storyline, but his character decisions are immediately the same with Iden. She just follows what he does, which makes him boring and feel the same as her. Now, something that's okay are the missions. I think they're pretty okay, and I think there are some really cool set pieces towards the end of the game. And if there's anything bonus to add, the Mandalorian Season 2 references part of this campaign, so I guess that's something if you care about that. Also, the length of the campaign is actually pretty short. It's around 5 hours from what I played, and it feels really long and not in the good way because there's a ton of padding in this campaign. That's one of the big problems with it. I think the campaign could have been 2-3 hours if some of the padding was just removed. There's moments in this campaign where you're a famous Star Wars character just slicing bugs and you're just wondering what is going on, why am I even doing this, does it even progress the plot? And no, it doesn't. It's just there because they need the game to be longer and you have to do an extra mission. So it's really annoying when the things like that are so blatantly obvious in a campaign. Overall, the campaign isn't that interesting and pretty underwhelming. They also did a sequel campaign to the main thing, which is a little shorter, around an hour to 2 hours, and I had more fun in that. But it was not that great. It was still just nice to have. It was better in the main campaign. Luckily, one thing that really helped out this campaign and the game is the gameplay. It's really fun, the guns feel really good, and the ability to have abilities that you're able to swap in and out with star cards is really fun. I think it really makes the campaign fun to play. So maybe that the story and characters are pretty stale and you don't really like what you're doing, but at least you're having fun because you're shooting stormtroopers. Now, I'm going to go talk about the multiplayer gameplay and the different classes that are in this game that really makes the ground troops interesting. So the first 4 we have are assault troopers, heavy troopers, officer troopers, and specialist troopers. Now your assault trooper is your every average man, boots on the ground type of guy. They got a shotgun, are pretty good at most ranges and most circumstances. And then you have your heavy gunner. He's got a lot of artillery firepower, able to take down big objects and a little slower. Then you have your officers, which are pretty good at healing and helping the team, being able to set up drones to be able to get battle points. And I'll get back to that point later. And then you have your specialist, which is your sniper class. The game does a fantastic job making all these classes feel different. Guns are locked to certain classes, so you can't put a sniper on a heavy, which makes having different classes feel very different and unique and makes you want to think about what class you're picking at the beginning of every match. Also, the customization in these classes are pretty good. You're able to make your guys feel pretty different, so if you're playing with a buddy, your heavy might look a lot different than their heavy. Also, the progression in this system feels great. Being able to upgrade your guy because of how much you level up instead of having a loot box really makes that progression change feel really good because you feel like you're naturally upgrading your guy as you level up. With how fastly they were able to implement the progression system, I think they did a really good job with being able to upgrade well and feeling a sense of reward. Overall, for the multiplayer, I think the progression system is actually pretty good. Now, I'm going to talk about the gameplay, which most multiplayer games live or die by. And I think the guns all feel really good. They all feel very different. All the classes have unique abilities and guns, so you really feel that there's a different playstyle for all these characters. And it's really fun learning how to use them and being able to experiment with which ones you figure out that you like. Another key concept that comes to the gameplay is the progression of battle points. Now, battle points are points gained in a match so you can buy a reinforcement or a hero during that match. So let's say you're playing as a base character and you're able to get enough battle points, then you'll be able to play as a clone commando. Or maybe you're able to save up enough and you'll be able to deploy as Darth Maul if you're on the villain side and be able to go ham on everyone. This encourages everybody in the lobby to play well so they can be earning characters and be doing better. Also, the reinforcements feel really different. A droideka is going to play completely different than an Ewok as you might expect in a movie. Now, I'm going to say that most of the reinforcements are really fun to play and are pretty balanced, except for the Rebel side for some reason. I feel like their reinforcements are a lot weaker than everyone else's. Same thing goes when it comes to heroes and villains. The heroes and villains play very differently. So if you want to get good with one of your characters, you can, and then in Heroes vs. Villains, you can become really good if you're able to put in the time, which makes it feel very rewarding because these heroes and villains play so differently that you can pick who you want to play and get really good with them. Now, since I just brought up Heroes vs. Villains, it might be a good time to bring up the amount of game modes and multiplayer game modes that you'll be playing in this game. So the two big game modes in this game are Capital Supremacy and Galactic Assault. There are other game modes like Ewok Hunt, which is a survival mode where you hide from Ewoks as a stormtrooper. And I talked about Heroes vs. Villains. Now, the two big game modes, Capital Supremacy and Galactic Assault, are really big and feel very epic. Capital Supremacy is when you take objectives, that way you're able to board an enemy's humongous cruiser and blow it up to win. Galactic Assault is a little bit more tailored with special missions, but both sides trying their best to stop whatever the other one's doing. So it can be the rebels trying to push into the cantinas in Tatooine, or maybe droid assault on the beaches of Kashyyyk as the clones try to stop them. Now, there are a lot of game modes in this game, and I think on the whole, they're actually all pretty solid. The big ones are absolutely the best ones. They are my favorite. The big three, you can say Galactic Assault is probably my favorite, but I love Capital Supremacy and Heroes vs. Villains. Overall, I think this game has a lot of great multiplayer. The amount of game modes that are consistently fun is really amazing. Even if they're not the biggest game modes, you can still have a lot of fun in them, even though I would say that the big three game modes are easily the most fun that I have. So the gameplay, progression systems, and the maps are also fantastic in this game, along with really nice visuals. On a whole, I just think this multiplayer is really good and very overlooked. I think it's really fun. The progression, all of it, it all comes together to be a really good multiplayer and really fun for friends and you just to play. It's just such a good multiplayer. I can't stress it enough. Last thing I want to mention before I score this game is the offline portion of this game, which isn't a big deal in this day and age, but this game franchise is known for its offline multiplayer, and it honestly is just not as good as previous entries into this franchise. Even if we look back at the Battlefront 1 game that came out in 2015, it really had a lot more substantial offline game, and I think that this one just doesn't even really compare. It's pretty boring and bland, and it does not even come close to anything that came out in the original Battlefront series. I think this game could have had an online Galactic Conquest, which was in the original Battlefront 2. I think it would have been awesome if we could have gotten with our friends and be able to beat up bots, because the AI in this game is pretty good, so it's kind of underwhelming that the offline is just not as good. Even if we could have had some online gameplay with some offline modes like co-op in this game, it would have been a lot better if we could have just had a Galactic Conquest. I think that could have been a really fun addition to this game. Overall, though, This is an absolutely great game because the multiplayer is just so fun. It is just such a great game to hop into every now and again. Just hop in, play with your friends. It is a great game and probably one of the best Star Wars games that is out there on the market. So I'm going to quickly explain how I'm going to rank things on this channel. I'm not going to be giving games or movies or whatever I'm ranking a letter or number grade. I'm going to be saying what I think it is from a scale of, at the worst, it's going to be hot trash, then bad, then underwhelming, then okay, then good, then great, then awesome. So I'm going to rate this game. I'm going to say that Battlefront 2 is a great game. I can honestly recommend it just because of how great the multiplayer is. It is so much fun. The reason that it's not really going to be able to hit that awesome tier is just the story mode. I don't think the story really was able to be able to really carry its own. It was pretty underwhelming, along with an offline that just wasn't as good. Maybe if we could have gotten more offline, online modes type of things, that could have been a hybrid. That could have maybe raised the game up to awesome. But I still think, though, this is an absolutely great game. And if you ever see it on sale or you just want to pick it up, pick it up. It is such a good game, and people have been overlooking this game for a while now because of the rocky start, and it has honestly changed. It is a really great game, and I can really recommend it to anyone who wants a nice, fun Star Wars multiplayer game. Anyway, now, I'm going to wrap things up. If you like what I did and you want to hang around, you can subscribe if you want. If you enjoyed the video, too, you're more welcome to like it or dislike it to give me some feedback. If you have any constructive criticism or you want to just talk about this game, please leave it in the comments. I really also want to improve at this channel, so if you have any ideas what I could do or help me out, please comment it. I'm just trying to get better. Also, if there's something you want me to review, I'm happy to do it if you want to recommend me something in the comments. So, anyway, I am T-Rex, and next time on the I Am T-Rex channel, I'll be giving my thoughts on what I would like to see in a Battlefront 3. So stick around, and I'll see you then. Bye.